town of Hillsborough is insignificant, may seem insignificant in the global picture. Why is it so important to chronicle the history of this town?
Well, I think it's always important to chronicle history. In fact, if my wife were with me today, she would be a staunch supporter of that. She spent 20 years, the first 20 years of her working life in education, where she was a history teacher. In fact, at Immaculata High School, where she taught for a number of years, she taught history to seniors, civics to seniors, and then became the head of the history department and then the director of guidance and counseling until she went into the private sector. So she is one that's always impressed upon us, us being myself and my two sons, the importance of history. That unless we know history and study history and follow history, we might make the same mistakes that we've made during our history. So it's important that we chronicle that. It's also important, my ethnic background is Italian. My grandfather was born in Italy, didn't speak much English, and one of the regrets that I had is that I didn't spend more time as a young man sitting with him and picking his brain about what it was like to make the transition from another country into the United States. I know it was an adjustment, and my heart goes out to any immigrant who doesn't handle the English language very well when they get here, because it can be a real impediment to becoming involved in the community and things like that. But I just think it's very important to chronicle that because of situations like that. I think over the past 15 or 20 years, the American population has become very tuned into the genealogy, learning more about our ancestors, where we came from, and things like that. And without it being chronicled and documented someplace in history, it's very difficult to put together. We tried tracing our roots back to Italy and found out there were very few written records that are available in Europe, and I'm sure in some of the other cultures throughout the world, the same thing is true. So that's the reason I feel it's important to document history. So our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren will have the benefit of that readily available to them and written in a first-hand knowledge, as opposed to being interpreted by scholars who think this is what happened at that time based on their investigations.